It's an angelic mine that has only benefits. There are no sins to be seen, no downsides, no serious environmental damages. I don't know of a copper mine like that. And that's not putting down copper mines. I mean, nothing's costless. I mean, everything. Driving our cars has impact. Building our homes have impact. So I'm not putting down the copper industry. But most of us realize that our cars have impacts. Our homes, our sewage systems have impacts. I mean, we don't hide from it. We face it and hopefully are trying to reduce that impact. But for somebody to try and suggest we're going to have a mine, that we're going to do the equivalent of mountaintop removal and fill a valley with waste, and that's going to have no serious environmental impact, just is not believable. That's not how you win people's trust. The operation of the mine, this just goes to the point I just made. The assumption is that the construction operation of the mine will damage no other part of the economy. It will have no impact on travel industry, no impact on the attractiveness of the area as a place to live, work, and do business. There are no trade-offs here, highly unlikely. Finally, assume that those 400 jobs or 2,100 jobs will represent, and the pay associated will represent steady employment, no interruptions, etc., for a 20 or 30-year period. But that's not the copper industry or metal mining either. It's a boom-bust industry, and I'll put up some pictures of that in a minute. Just as important, as I said before, the mining industry has been incredibly creative in developing new techniques, larger scale mining techniques, going from underground mining, following a vein, to underground with room and pillar with heavy equipment underground, to going to open pits, and then going from smelters to chemical mining, use of solvents to extract the metal. At each stage, the labor demands, or the labor embodied in our copper, has gotten smaller and smaller. The workforce has gotten smaller. Amazing technological achievements. Next slide. But with some impacts. This goes back over 110 years almost. It's 15-year increments here. The mine's going to last 20 to 30 years. So you can take any one of these double increments here and look for a steady period of output in copper. And these are huge fluctuations. With the industry booming and then almost shutting down. Look over here. Collapsing, booming, and almost shutting down. That's one of the reasons why copper towns are not prosperous, is that the jobs are not reliable. The income is not reliable. You never know when that nice, attractive, high, blue-collar paycheck that allows you to live a middle-class lifestyle, the type of jobs we wish there were lots more of in our economy. You never know when that paycheck is going to disappear and when that job is going to disappear because of these cyclical fluctuations. Next slide. This is looking at Arizona. The previous one was national. The dotted red line is jobs in copper production, employment in Arizona. Starting back in the early 70s, 28,000 jobs. At the low point in 2003, a little less than 6,000 jobs. Almost 80% of the jobs disappeared. Now, there's recovery in that. In percentage terms, it's a significant recovery, 86% recovery, but from a very low level. So that even then, we have only about a third of the jobs, 2/3 of the jobs are gone. Notice also that during this decline in employment, copper production was rising. That's the amazing labor-saving technological changes that were taking place in the industry. Next slide. This is looking at copper employment again, and the dotted line is how many workers it took in various years to produce 1,000 tons of copper. It took, in 1974, it took 35 workers. In 2003, it took 7 workers. So the labor embedded in our copper has just been steadily shrinking, and there's no reason to believe that the technological change has come to an end. Next slide. With that has gone fluctuations in real wages in Arizona. Communities that have to go from almost a $2 billion industry to something a quarter that size, the businesses in that community, the families in that community are going to be in trouble, or have it pop up again to almost 900 million to have it fall to just over 400 million. That is a wrenching experience for communities, and it's why most of our copper towns, I live close to one, Butte, Montana. I've done a lot of work in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, in the Silver Valley of Idaho, Silver City, and in New Mexico, in your copper towns here in Arizona. They aren't examples of prosperous, vital communities. And it's this instability that explains a good deal of it. Next slide. It's perfectly rational to walk away from a mineral deposit. Most mineral deposits in the earth are still sitting there untapped because of the quality, the depth, the difficulty of getting access to it compared to the value of the mineral that will be extracted. Mining companies regularly walk away from mineral deposits. Communities should take the same point of view, but use it from the point of view of public costs and public benefits. The mining company wants to use your land, public land, Forest Service land, exclusively as a dumping ground for the tailings and for the waste rock. They're asking to use your land. That's fine. I don't mind people asking me for favors. But I think that we as citizens, or U.S. citizens, and your business leaders and political leaders have to say, well, what will we get for this? You're asking us to give something up. That's beautiful. Just take a look at the photographs over there. That's spectacular. And it's going to be turned into a dump, a hole in the ground in a dump. Fine, maybe you can convince me that there's benefits here that will justify that. We should be asking exactly the same question the mining company asked. Will the public benefits from this mine justify the public costs? That has nothing to do with being anti-mining. It has to do with being as rational as the mining company is. And if the costs exceed the benefits, then the community and our political leaders should walk away from it. That's no more irrational than the mining companies for 100 years ignoring the development of that resource. Mining, from my point of view, from the public point of view, I think is a matter of sight, technology being used, a site in the sense of environmental sensitivity. Some sites are more sensitive than others. Some are going to have greater environmental impacts. Some technologies have greater impact in terms of land forming, geoforming, just dramatically changing the landscape, another aspect of it. Some are more productive for communities in terms of supporting the economy than others. So it's a matter of just weighing the costs, the benefits, whether this is a good site for a mine in the sense that it minimizes the environmental impact while maximizing the public benefits.